Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. You can find me on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. Spelling GaelanTrombley. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
We're live now. You okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, everybody. This is episode 117 of the Galen Trombley Show, and my guest today, you guys know her from the social media space. If you follow me, you've seen her. And I told her, okay, so first off, it's Hannah Wilson.
Hi.
Welcome, Hannah. I told Hannah, I think when you first got into real estate, that I would bring you on this podcast when you got your license.
Yep.
And you've had your license now. This is like
a year.
Over? Is it a year?
Yeah.
A little over?
Yeah.
Probably. So I'm within 2 years of getting her on. So she should have been on last year. Just didn't happen. So she's here. And Hannah works with us here at Kavanaugh Realty. So she's a licensed real estate salesperson. But the one thing that I always think is really cool about Hannah is not just real estate. Obviously, I love real estate, and I'm glad that you're in it. But the fact that you're doing quite a bit of stuff for, a young professional. You just turned
21.
21, okay, which is still crazy to me. So, so when did we meet?
In August of 2009.
I think it was
2018.
It's been a while. It's been over 2 years now. 2.5 years?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So you're 21. Yeah, so you were what, 18, 19? 18 turning 19?
Yes, I was turning 19.
Which is crazy. So so for people that don't know, Hannah, introduce yourself.
Okay.
Kind of how you got to be 2021 Hannah Wilson.
Okay.
And then we'll go back and we'll tell the story about how we ended up meeting.
Okay. So I'm Hannah Wilson, and I grew up in Peru, New York. I lived right next to the school and kind of just lived life as living in like a neighborhood, made some friends in my neighborhood, and they ended up still being my best friends today. I went through high school. High school was kind of rough. Wasn't really good at team sports. I did better at like sports like cross country, track, and after that, I remember trying to get into like figuring out what college I was going to go to. I really liked art. I really liked like kind of doing my own thing. I wasn't good at like what high school wants you to be good at. So like math and science and writing was so not good at that. And so I wanted to do something more like on the artsy side and more like for myself. And so I talked to my advisor about all the stuff that I did want to do, and she recommended me going into an entrepreneurship degree. And that Plattsburgh State was the only college really in this area that had an entrepreneurship degree, and I had no like desire to really leave this town, because I felt like if I wanted to accomplish something, it didn't really matter where I was. I could stay local, stay home. So I ended up graduating in May of 2017 from high school, and then going on to Plattsburgh State, I was able to graduate in 3.5 years. So I'm all done college now. And I graduated with a marketing and entrepreneurship degree.
So, and you said who your advisor got you into entrepreneurship?
Yep.
So actually, wait, we'll go back because I'm jumping ahead here.
Okay.
How did we meet? Do you remember the story?
Yes.
I want to hear your version of it because I'll tell you my version of it.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. So my version of the story was, it was summer of 2018, and I was really interested in real estate. And I remember my first year of college, I was like already anxious wanting to get started in what I wanted to be doing. So I'd emailed I'd reached out to a few agencies in the area. Nothing really ended up working. So I just kind of like let it go and was going to jump ahead in a year or so. So jump forward to summer of 2018. I was at a blueberry field with one of my college friends, and we were picking blueberries, and all of a sudden this crazy guy named Aaron Benner comes up to me, and he's like jumping around with a camera. He's like, "Hey guys, I was wondering if I could film you guys picking blueberries today. It's for Rolf's. We're promoting it." And I'm like, we were like literally just about to leave. And I was like, yeah, sure. So we said yes. And then he started videoing us, and he took a lot of interest in what we were doing at Plattsburgh State and where we came from and like what we wanted once we graduated. And for some reason, this talk in this blueberry field got really serious and deep hearted, and just like he's telling us everything, we're telling him everything. And then I told him that I wanted to be in real estate, and he's like, "I know someone." He's like, "Can you do this for me? Can you contact this person for me?" And I was like, "Yes." And it was Galen Trombley. So I went on his Facebook. It literally never this sounds bad, but I never did hear of you.
Wow, thanks, Anna.
Yep. And I went on Facebook, I looked through his pictures, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So like probably about a month later, I was sitting in his small office in the train station. That was it.
So my memory was Aaron randomly told me, he calls me, he's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "What's up, man?" And he goes, I got someone. I'm like, "Yeah, what do you mean you got someone?" And like, of course, like just like amped up, typical Benner. And he's like, "I saw this girl. We went, was jamming with them, and they're picking blueberries. And she wanted to get into real estate. And she's a local kid, and she goes to college, and she wants to get into real estate." I said, "Okay, great." I said, "What do you want me to do? Do you have her contact you? I mean, do you want me to get a hold of her?" He goes, No. He goes, "I gave her your stuff. I want to see if she reaches out." And I said, "Fair," because I don't really go after other agents, because I just like, if they want to work here, they'll reach out and they'll come work here. Like I don't go like after people for the most part. It's just like situations like that. I'm like, well, her first step is if she's going to contact me. So I remember hearing about you, and I was like, well, I'm not going to reach out. If she calls or whatever, or emails. You emailed us the next day, and I think you emailed. I think it was me, maybe my dad. I don't know. It was someone. You emailed us, and I remember sitting there, and I'm like, okay, well, this is good, because she did follow through on what Erin said she was going to do, which already, I'm not when it comes like to business, I'm not a resume guy. I don't really I went to school for business, but a lot of the stuff I just go by like gut intuition. So my gut is always, if somebody wants to come on, their first step is they got to like initiate it. They got to reach out. And then they did something they were supposed to do, which is Erin said that you were going to reach out. So I'm assuming, okay, she's going to reach out, and you did, which I know is like a minor thing, but the fact that you did it, you did it, and at the speed that you did it, to me spoke volumes. Meaning, I didn't know who you were. Like I didn't know what you sounded like, looked like. I didn't know where you were from. I just knew you were going to Plattsburgh State, and obviously like blueberries. So, so I'm sitting there, and you reached out, and I think we had coordinated. Was it a month? I don't even think it was that long.
Yeah.
I want to say it was like 2 weeks.
Yeah, something like that. Because you were like going to some CrossFit thing, actually. I think. Yeah. You were.
Oh, I was 18. Yeah, I probably went to the games that year. Yeah. Well, no, I watched, folks. I was not
in the games.
Let's tone it down. I didn't do it. I didn't do anything physical. So, yeah, maybe that was it. So you came. It was sometime in August we met, and then you. What was your first reaction? Because you went to the old. Yeah. You went to the old what Aaron calls the incubator, but like the little room down below.
I was just surprised that he was working in an office in the basement of a train station, and that he was doing real estate down there, to be honest. But
did you think it was sketchy? It's not basement. It's the bottom. It's trackside. There's like a couple of attorneys down there. There's Amtrak. It's like
I was more so just wondering like who else is in this team, because it was like I was always like kind of just meeting with you, so I was like, where is everybody else?
Fair.
But I was like surprised, but as soon as I got there, it was nothing like an interview. Like I didn't feel like you were like, I was like, is he gonna like look at my resume? Like what is he gonna ask me? But you didn't like.
Did you bring a resume?
I didn't. You didn't care. I was like, I put it on the piece of paper. He's like, yeah, we don't need that. I'm like, okay.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. And you were just having like trying to meet me. And I was like also confused at how old you were. I was like, wait, how old is this person? Because you had like pictures of yourself being married, like on your, like in a frame. And I'm like, wait, this guy's married. He's so young. And then I don't know.
Well, I had a beard. It's been a while since I've shaved a beard, which makes me look older. Wow, good. So my compliment of the day is I look younger than I am, so that's good.
Yep.
So you were obviously kind of like, I guess the initial reaction was, is this like legitimate?
Yeah.
Or is this guy like, is this a front for some like drug ring or something?
I was confused, and I remember I just like went home to my mom and she's like, so like, are you gonna start working there? I was like, Mom, I have no idea. Like, I'm just gonna start shadowing, I guess.
No, I remember talking to you, and I go, when I interview people, I don't really care what you've done. No. It's more of like the person you are, because I think everybody, if they have the right mindset and attitude, they can learn anything. So it's like real estate's not, yes, is it better if you have experience? Sure, because you just kind of limit the learning curve a bit. But I look at someone, if they have a good attitude and seem like they're proactive and ambitious, then to me that speaks more volumes than if they had a 3.8 GPA at college. I really don't care. Like I don't think I ever looked at. I don't even, like I said, I don't think you had a resume or.
I brought it. You did not look at it.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like me. So, but yeah, usually when I have interview someone, I feel like I do 75% of the talking, because I like to put everything out on the table, because I like to be very transparent. So if there's like a lot of, like, I basically tell you everything. I'm like, this is what we're doing. This is what I want to do. This is everything I can think about, good, bad, ugly, about real estate. I kind of just like try to scare you off. And like, does that sound like interesting? You're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Even the bad stuff, you're like, yeah, whatever. It's not that bad. So that kind of got me over the hump where I was like, okay. And obviously listening to you talk about what you wanted to do, and at a young age, obviously, like, you know, got me more interested, because I'm like, okay, you reminded me a lot of myself. Mm-hmm. So when I was talking to you, I was like, okay, this girl, one, I don't know how you were 18. Like one, as an 18-year-old, I don't know if I would have done what you did at 18, meaning like go in, meet with somebody who you didn't know about a position that you were kind of like hesitant on. I say hesitant, but like you weren't, you didn't know a lot about. And then to go in and say, hey, I'm a kid in college and I want to do this, and then talking to you, and you had more ambitions than just like getting a job. Mm-hmm. So that was some of the things that even to this day is why I, I'm always very high on you and to talk you up to a lot of people, because it's what you're doing, but also what I can see that you're going to do in your career. And your career is basically, I would say, a year and a half old. It's not that, in the grand scheme of it, you're like in the very, very early stages, but the mindset thing to me is important. Mm-hmm. So did you feel that you have that? Do you feel that you're someone that come natural to you? Do you find that, like, how did you fit in with friends in high school and college?
That's a good question.
Like, you have friends, but I'm saying, like, how did you feel those friends were in relation to you from a mindset perspective?
I would say even in college, I think I started seeing it a lot more. I like always had this schedule. Like, I would wake up, I would run, I would eat breakfast, and I'd be dressed, and like half my other friends would just be waking up. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like I have a lot of energy. And I also like don't like to like waste time in the day. And a lot of my friends will be like, you really got your stuff together. And I'm like, I really don't feel like I have my stuff together. But I feel like I've also surrounded myself with older people for like my whole life. So being around people that I look at that have their life together, I'm like, I don't have my life together compared to these people. So I think like surrounding myself with older people kind of made me feel like I have to get to a certain point to.
So you compare yourself to older people?
Yeah, probably. I feel like I get along with like people more like towards their 30s and older. Okay,
so did you ever find that sometimes your friends, high school and college, and again, I don't talk because I had friends like this too that were buddies, absolutely love them, still great friends to this day, or people I went to school with. But I felt that I was more of an old soul than they were at times, where I felt that my mindset was accelerated, not accelerated like smarter, but accelerated year wise.
Yeah.
And where I was thinking, because everybody has thoughts all day long, and everybody thinks different things. Mm-hmm. I remember as a kid, really focusing college, late high school into college, of like, okay, what do I want to do? kind of what do I want to do? Like going to college, like I stayed home and had scholarships and I applied to one school, which was Plattsburgh, and I got in purely because I didn't want to spend money to go to college. Because I was worried as a 18-year-old kid about compounding interest on student loans, which you tell most kids going into college, they would have no clue what that is. No. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's no way I'm paying money to go to college. And so that was one of my things. Like I never had student loan debt. I mean, luckily my parents told me, hey, we're going to give you X amount. You can go to any school you want in the world. You're getting X amount per year. Yep. So I'm looking at that. I'm like, I'm going to Plattsburgh because that is definitely under whatever you're willing to pay. So I'm like, I'm out. So luckily, and partly I didn't want them to spend money on something I really didn't care about.
Yeah.
So I tried to get out as cheap as possible, and I did it purposely not to have any student loan debt. And I wanted to save my parents money because I'm like, I appreciate you saving money up for college, but if I'm not like dead set on going for something, which I wasn't, I'm like, it's just a natural step. Now, looking back, I would have done things differently, knowing the knowledge I know now. But naturally, when you graduate, college is like the next step.
Yeah, I had some stages where I wish I had done things differently going into college. I had a thought that like I really wanted to like be a teacher for some reason. I was like, oh yeah, I wish I could have done that because like you can do real estate without a degree. So why didn't I go to school for like something I didn't need a degree? I don't know. So then I kind of like did a lot of thinking. I was like, well, I really don't want to go to school for the rest of my life and like have to literally be at school teaching people. So then I just kind of like settled in my mind that I'm like, well, for example, like Galen's my teacher and he doesn't sit in a school all day. So it's like I can still be a teacher without actually having a degree to be a teacher. And I can teach the people that want to learn what I have to offer one day.
I've actually never heard you say it before. So this is why I think you're even more like me than I think. So my two things when I went to school was teaching or business. That was it. It was teaching and business. So I went to school. The reason my mom's a teacher, my dad was in real estate. So my whole life I was exposed to teaching and business. I wasn't exposed to, and I think a lot of it is kind of the culture you grew up in. Like I just knew what my parents did. I didn't like I had no clue what your dad. That would not have been anything I'd want to do because I just didn't know about the position or the job. Yep. You, on the other hand, that might have been something in your radar because you were more exposed to it. So I go to college, teaching or business, but I went undecided, pretty much because I was undecided between the two. And the only reason I didn't go into teaching was because it was too restrictive and restrictive on my time, restrictive on my capacity to make money, on my capacity to, and again, I don't want to say it in a selfish way, meaning money, but the idea was there was stuff I was limited to as a teacher, where if I went into business, I still could teach. Yeah. And I looked at that. I'm like, I don't necessarily like to teach in a school. I just like to give back and help people. And I got a taste of that with coaching. So I coached soccer either as an assistant or as a head coach, of a varsity or JV team, JV assistant, varsity head coach, JV assistant, varsity assistant, JV head coach, tongue tire. So that allowed me to teach kids, and then while also doing real estate. And now I find that it's full circle. That now it's like I can now look at someone like you as I say a student, but like as a mentee, and show you what I've learned, which is a teaching aspect. But I'd rather teach this than teach math. And yeah, with you saying that, it's funny because that was exactly my thought process. But now I didn't have the idea of, like, looking back now, I'm like, oh, it would have been great just to get into real estate at 18 and not do my college. Well, I didn't want to get into real estate until I was like 20. Yeah. So really, I was 2 years into college before I decided I wanted to do real estate. So that was the only difference. You decided to get in real estate sooner than I did. And where do you think real estate came into play? Like, why do you think real estate jumped out at you?
Oh, well, it's funny. When I was a kid, I was super sassy, and I'm still kind of sassy. But my dad I think my parents had a big role, obviously, in totally into the person that I am today. But they blocked Nickelodeon and Disney Channel from my TV in my bedroom, so I couldn't go on those channels. So the only thing I could watch was HGTV, and so I was obsessed with House Hunters. And yeah. And so one day it was like it was during the winter. Me and my mom and dad were going for a ride, like in Sable Point. And my dad was like, I was like really stressed out. I was like, I don't know what do I want to be when I grow up. And he was like, well, you like houses. I was like, yeah, everybody likes houses. And he was like, well, you could be a real estate agent. I'm like, I honestly didn't even know that was a job. I'm like, a real estate agent? And he was like, yeah. So like ever since then I looked up like how do I get into that? And I was like in high school. So it started like very young, and I was kind of like, I don't know, I had very little knowledge and expectations of what it was actually like to be a real estate agent. I'm like, do you get paid? Like, do you get a paycheck every week? Like, how does this thing work? But I ended up learning about it.
So it's just kind of like HGTV.
Yeah. Yep.
I find that real estate is one of those. I always call it like a sexy industry because people like houses. They they like knowing stuff. It's like a very who lives there. What is that house worth? Is my house worth more than that house?
Yep.
If I decorate this, does it add value? And I find that a lot of people, if you're not into real estate, you like real estate. And you go down the road, and the amount of people I run into, like, oh, I've always wanted to be a realtor. And like a lot of people always want to be a realtor. And I always say it's the thing you got to look at for real estate, and you're learning this now, is that real estate is not like the highlight reel on Instagram that you see. And I try to keep it like fairly real on my thing. I don't try to like fluff what I do. But like perfect example, it's like if you go on to like HGTV and there's people on HGTV and they're showing people the house, and that's so scripted. Like that is not, trust me, they have cameras set up, they go into the house, all of a sudden they're looking at 3 houses, make a decision. I'm like, that's not really what happens. I mean, it is in theory. The production level to make that all happen is completely canned. It's like, that this is all staged. Those, I'll be honest, probably not even real buyers, or if they are, one of the houses they're going into, they've already committed to purchasing. You know what I mean? Like I'm very skeptical on that process. So I kind of am always letting people like know that looking at homes and like making a decision, like that's the home we're going to buy. Everybody loves that because everybody's on cloud 9 when they get their offer accepted. Yeah. The problem with real estate, there's 2 things. When you have a client and showing them houses and buying a home, that is the easiest part of real estate. The hardest part is getting clients or getting your name out there so people want to work with you, because that takes that takes years to build up. And then on the end is once you go under contract, as you know, it's like an 8-week shit show of all the stuff that could put like. If you go under contract, everybody is pumped. We got our offer accepted. There's no point in the closing process where they're going to get more elated than that moment. No. So I always find that the closing process, and I try to tell clients this and try to prepare them, is like we're at like the top of like your excitement level. I'm just hoping that we just don't go too much lower by the time you get in the home. And not because they don't want the home, but there's a lot of moving parts. I get it. People's lives and people get stressed out easy, and there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of communication. There can be miscommunication, and it's trying to juggle everything to get it to closing. So the point is at closing, they're still excited for the house and they still don't hate everybody involved. And it's, because I always tell clients, it's like everybody involved in real estate wants you to close. Yeah. Half of us don't get paid unless you close. Like everybody wants you to close. Even if the seller's having a problem, like, dude, you want to close, like you want to sell and they want to buy. Like the funny thing with real estate and why I don't understand why people get into like arguments and all these problems in real estate and make like mountains out of little like anthole. What is it called? Anthills. Making mountains out of anthills is that we all want the same goal. Like and again, big picture, we want to close on this. So why are we arguing over like a $200, water test? And people will threaten to walk away on that. I'm like, are you like, really? You're really going to do that? Like, go ahead. I call your bluff. Like I just find that people get outrageous and they watch too much, these real estate shows that are very dramatized. And I think that if you're getting into real estate, you have to realize there's more to it than like the glamorous stuff that you see, and more to it than like, I'm just going to drink coffee and show clients houses. Like they don't see you like running around, like talking to clients. I had a client today, had a call, obviously not the best conversation you want to have a client, but like, I'm not putting that on Instagram that like, oh, this was great. This person was mad and we had to like try to resolve it. And it was fine. The conversation ended up good, but it obviously was like a weird reason why it happened. But like there's stuff that people just don't see.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So what's your, I guess, from your expectation level of getting into real estate to what the reality is? What's what you expected and what's way different?
Well, I guess I didn't really have too many expectations. I think one thing that was better than my expectation is like I don't feel like I'm doing this alone, and that's partly because of Nicole at our office.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't feel alone through any of the process. Like I know I can call and ask anyone a question. And also like I never feel really like, I feel like every time I don't know the answer to something, then the next time, and I learn it after I don't know the answer to it, then the next time I'm like asked about it, I feel like so much more confident to answer the question and to help people. And I think I've seen myself grow like a lot more than I expected in 1 year. Because I remember at the beginning of my first year last year, I was obviously not too confident in myself. And like now I feel much more better in myself.
Well, the idea is that every time that you learn something, like you
Yeah.
said, you check it off and say, I know it. And and I had a conversation today. It was another agent that we have coming on. I was training with him. And I said yesterday or 2 days ago, I was at a house. And I go, the house was on a river. So in my head, like, do you have flood insurance? Because it like that's something that people want to know because it's like an extra expense they're probably not expecting. And like, yeah, actually we do. And if I was my first year, I'm not asking if they have flood insurance. I don't know to ask them that. Like, there's questions that you don't know to ask. And then as you and that's just, I mean, that's a very small, minor example, but that's the idea that you're going to learn these little things every year. Now, in your first year, you did how many sales?
I did six sales.
So, yeah. So, okay. So 2020, I look at that as you did 6 sales during a pandemic where really you couldn't do much for 3 months.
Yeah.
And then, or 2.5, whatever it was, 2.5, 3 months. And then also starting from scratch because as anybody knows, the hardest thing to do is start with no momentum. The good thing is you had shadowed for about a year. So you had shadowed, you went to some appointments with me. So you had a little bit of expectation level, I guess.
Yeah.
But to go from like no clients to 6 deals at the end of year 1, I think is great. And I'll be honest, a lot of those were stuff I think that you earned a little bit more than, I always tell people I try to teach you how to fish, not give you a fish, because I want to make sure that you are self-sufficient in this. Because I know that's to me to be a good agent, you have to be resourceful by yourself. You can't just like have your hand out and expect that someone's going to do it for you. So that's why I'm always. Where some people might think like, "Well, I didn't do as much as this person." I'm like, well, you just wait. Like you will, because you're learning the basics and you're learning how to become an actual agent that can go out and proactively grow your business. And that's.
And I see the momentum now because I remember last year when we had talked and everything and like, okay, January started, nothing happened January, February, nothing happened in February. But then like now it's January of 2021 and everybody that wasn't going to buy this summer, like now is going to buy, or last summer, now they're going to buy this summer. So it's like I have a lot more momentum and this is only the second year. So it's really, I only have like 1 year of momentum and it's like double what I had
So
obviously last year.
So the snowball effect that I always
Yeah.
talk about, actually give me the definition. I want to hear what your definition of the snowball effect.
Do I have a definition for the snowball?
I mean,
effect?
what is it? Just, you don't have to
Oh.
give me like a Webster dictionary
Well,
version, but
that's
like,
in it.
what does it
Okay.
what does it stand for? Like, what does it mean?
It just basically is like as you get more clients in like a pipeline, then like you kind of keep gaining more and more.
Rolling
Rolling
So,
down.
the snowball effect. So you take a snowflake, which is small, and
Yeah.
you roll it, and it seems insignificant. But if you do that over years and years and years, you have a snowball.
Yeah.
And then you do it again, that snowball has more surface area, which means you're compoundly getting bigger every time you roll the snowball.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, this is my 11th year of rolling a snowball.
Yeah.
You're in year 2.
Yeah.
So, and again, I did my first year, I did 3 sales. And so you already double what I did in year 1. And I really don't think that your you're gonna be well beyond numbers I was doing when I was getting, like, it won't even be close. And you're younger than me. You're about a year and 18 months younger
Yeah.
than I was when I got in. So I think I told you when you turned 21, right after you turned 21, I said, Hannah, I said, you literally just turned 21. I started first day, showed up, didn't know what to do. Like, you at least have been shadowing for a year, and we're already almost 9 months or 10 months, no, or 11 months into it at that point.
Yep.
So I was like, you're so far ahead of me. It's not even comparable. You're going to blow me out of the water. But what is your favorite thing about real estate right now?
Definitely the flexible time. Like, the thing is, I'm still super young, and there's like a lot of things I want to do. Like, I mean, for example, my friends wanted to go skiing for the first time. I went skiing like a month ago, and I was able to go like a Wednesday throughout the week, and it was fine. Like, there was no, I have to take off work. So I like really appreciate, and also, so the other thing that I really like about real estate is, like, it, because like you're so, when you start out, like, there's no way you could possibly live on 6 deals, really. I mean, you could, but you'd probably have to live with your parents or whatever, which is fine. But so it kind of like pushes you into other things that you want to do too. So like, I have another job at Anthony's, and then I also started a business, Woodland Art, making art. So it was like I was able to do other things, so I can actually do real estate as well, which I like about the job.
Yeah, and like you said, when you get in 6 deals, you're not making a living off 6 deals, especially not 6 deals in Clinton County, New York. So, and that was, I mean, I lived at home, and I think my first year I was actually pumped. I did 3 deals. I made the same amount of money as I did at the ice cream shop the year prior, and I probably worked 1/100th of the hours that I did for the same amount. And I'm like, I didn't make any much more. I mean, I made the same amount of money, but the whole idea was I just had all this extra free time, which, of course, as a 20-year-old, I wasn't, or 21-year-old, when we talk about being proactive, I wasn't a very proactive agent for the first few years of my life until I like got into like my mid-20s. Like, okay, now I got to like step up. But yeah, there's a benefit to, you know, being proactive and you know, learning from that. And the fact that, again, now talk about like how you merge all that together, because you got real estate, you have Anthony's, and you have Woodland Art.
Yeah, it's hard.
So without going into Woodland Art, kind of, we'll talk about that after, but just go into like how do you manage your day, because you do have flexibility in real estate.
Yeah.
Anthony's is probably your strictest one, because someone's telling you to be there at a certain time.
Yeah.
But then Woodland Art is kind of a side hustle that you do on your own time, but that obviously takes away from other things.
Yeah. Kind of how I don't know. Sometimes I really don't do the best job at blending everything together, but really, I guess how I do it is I kind of like this. You probably don't want to hear this, but I kind of like lump everything into one day, and like, you know, like I literally will not look, like, I don't know. I get really stressed out from like emails and stuff, which is like so Gen Z or whatever Gen I am, but I don't like looking at emails. So I like avoid all of that for like a couple days, but then there's like one day where I like hyper focus on everything. So I'm trying to like get more mature in like a work schedule and try and do it every day, but I kind of really just like lump everything into one.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I can't get away with that, but that's yeah.
There's gonna be a day where I can't get away.
I was gonna say probably soon you'll end up. Well, I think you got to batch it with, you know, what you do each day. It's just time blocking.
Yeah.
It's just saying, okay, I'm going to sit down for 2 hours, and it's going to be, I don't know, on a weekday, 10 to noon is when I'm going to do all my correspondence. I'm going to call people, return emails, and then obviously if stuff comes back through the day, you take care of it. But, you know, what you don't want to do is, you know, sit at a computer all day and just like wait for stuff to come to you. Mm-hmm. So it's like go in, do all the stuff, like rip through what you have to get done, and then spend the afternoon just working on Woodland Art for 4 or 5 hours, and then check some messages, and then go to Anthony's. Like you can block it. And I think the focus is hard for me because I never stop thinking about the business, so I have a hard time relaxing.
Yeah.
Do you find that you have a easy time shutting everything off, or do you find that everything just blends together and is just constantly racing through your head?
Yeah, I don't have an easy time shutting everything off at all. Like, I mean,
Do you get anxiety thinking that you have to get stuff done?
yeah, I don't know. Not too much actually.
Does-
I know that I'm gonna get it done, but when stuff gets piled on my plate and people have like expectations of something that you have to do, then I get stressed. Yeah.
Do you, is it stress meaning like you get overwhelmed with real estate transactions or overwhelmed with orders for Woodland Art? Because
Yeah.
I wouldn't think Anthony's has got to be the easiest because you show up, you do it, and you clock out and you don't care. Like
Yeah.
literally, if there's a spill on the floor and it's you just walked out the door, it's not your problem. None of that, but I'm saying like
Yeah.
that's a shift. That's like that's the 9 whatever the hourly thing is, where I'm constantly like if someone spilt something on our floor here, all hours of the day I could be thinking about it. Not this is metaphorically,
Yeah.
but if there's a problem with something, it's always on because I just never shut this off because like you're running the whole thing, which I love, but it's hard for me just to completely check out.
Yeah. I feel like I'm used to juggling 3 or 4 things at once. And when I'm not juggling 3 or 4 things, then I get bored and pick up another ball and start juggling it. So I get bored easy. So it's like I've been dealing with juggling things for so long that I don't know, it doesn't really faze me. But I think I want to get to a point in the next 10 years where I just juggle 2 things. But then there's going to be something else, like a family or something. So I don't know.
Yeah, family's a big ball to juggle. So like, well, yeah. So I the difference between me and you, this is like one of the only things is that you are starting like I never had another job in real estate, not because I was like balling out. It was
Yeah.
just because I lived at home. Like I didn't. Real estate covered my living expenses. So I had the luxury of just doing that, but I wasn't proactive really in growing it. As I've started to grow it, things happen. And I always say it's always good things. If you're, the busier I am, it means things are happening. I'm generating things. Right now we're hitting a wall where I always say like my bandwidth is only so much, and I'm now trying to leverage my time. Like Nicole helps my closings. Nick helps pretty much everything else. You're starting to help me with showings. And it's like, how can I put more focus on the company and not necessarily try to do, 50 showings a week. I never did 50 in a week, but you get the idea. Like, how do I, how can I still help out, but where am I best suited to help out? So I'm trying to allocate my time to where I really make a difference. And that's why I'm bringing people on to help me leverage so I can take what I learn and just really focus on the things that I know I can have a direct impact on. There's things, as you know, in real estate, and you can already tell there's certain things that you do day to day in your real estate business that you can do right now because one, you have time, and the other things you don't necessarily have the money to hire it out. And that was something I've always struggled with. Now I've gotten to the point my time is sucked but so much, but I have a little bit more I'm able to kind of hire certain things out, which now levers me back my time.
Yeah.
And I knew that was going to happen, but it's now, and it's like I've hit a wall the last few months, and that's what I'm really trying to focus on, is trying to maximize my time during the day. Because when you talk about juggling balls, I juggle the company, which the company's got a bunch of little balls you're juggling, which is like me and my sales, which is great, and I love that part, but me and training with agents, me and just running the stuff of the company, me helping with the marketing, me helping with operations. I wear a lot of hats within the company. And then my other ball is the family. So those are the only two. So I don't really have time for, I'm pretty selfish with my time, meaning if it doesn't go into one of those two categories, it's probably not happening. And with the exception that I do try to do something once a week, whether it be golf or whether it be skiing, just to mentally, skiing's actually every other week, so I really don't do it every week, but I try maybe every week or every other week to do something where it's
Like for yourself.
and again, it's tough because I feel like I have I get anxiety about like going skiing. I get anxiety like, man, should I go skiing tomorrow? And instead of getting like, I'll get into the office for noon instead of getting here for like 7:30, 8 o'clock. Well, should I use that time for other stuff? And I have to like talk to myself, like, it's fine. You can go do something and not just work all day long. And I like working all day long and I think about it, it's why I'm skiing, but it's still nice to like get out in fresh air and like try to take my mind off certain things. And that's kind of what golf does, but still same thing. Golf, I think about work too much when I golf, but do you do anything that's fun that takes away from that?
Yeah,
the work?
I would say it's probably either spending time with my family, my sister, or like going on a run, just hanging around people that I enjoy is like my complete downtime. Like normally if I go to my sister's house, it's like I won't like really think about anything else. I just like hang out with her cats and her for like an hour or something, and then like I'm good.
So, because now on top of that, when you do, well, some people I don't think realize when you run like a small business, like Woodland Art's a small business, so you guys run that. That's something you and your dad are doing. Kavanaugh, real estate's weird because even though you're part of a company, you kind of are your own small business.
Yeah,
and which is like like when you talk about like entrepreneurship, like real estate is probably one of the best things to go into for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But between the two, what have you found beyond what normal people would think of real estate? Like, what do you do for real estate that you don't think people realize you do? And what is stuff for like Woodland Art that people maybe don't realize that you do? Because I'm guessing people are like, oh, you show homes.
Yeah.
And then for Woodland Art, like, oh, you just make wood, like wood designs and like whatever. And so what are two things you think people don't see?
Okay. I would say for Woodland Art, two things people don't see. Well, actually, one thing people don't see is when you're trying to staple something into a piece of wood and you staple your finger and it's painful, and then you also have to somehow stop your bleeding finger also while getting the staple out of the piece of wood.
And not dripping on the
and
paper.
not dripping your blood all over the artwork. So that's one thing people really don't see. Also, people don't see me actually going to Lowe's and having to, like, I when I do orders, they're custom orders, and then once the order is complete, then people pay for it. But I actually I don't have like a business card or like a Lowe's card or anything like that. So it's like really all my own money that I spend on like materials, and people don't see the fact that I have to and I love it, but every Saturday and Sunday, it's like I have no Saturday and Sunday because I go work in a garage with my dad. People don't see that it's like freaking freezing in my garage. And we have to do two kerosene tanks just to heat it up for the day. And I mean, it gets really frustrating. They don't see, all of the staples and nails that are just like totally wasted because you missed what you were trying to shoot into.
Well, yeah. And Woodland Art was going into the small business part of like, people don't see you go to Lowe's. They don't see you planning out the designs. They don't see you designing the graphics. They don't see you taking payment from people.
Yeah.
You don't see you tracking your receipts because of like tax purposes. They don't see you doing the graphic designs and the content creation around trying to promote the business. They don't see your website. I'm saying like they don't see all the back end stuff. Everybody just sees like these boards like, oh, Hannah just like shows up and like pulls out the Lego kit and just puts them together and then sells them. Like there's more to it than just randomly. That's why I always think like whatever you think of in a small business, take that and probably triple it, because you don't even know that stuff exists that we do or any company does. That's why I'm like, people that run a small business are probably the most capable to handle anything, because there's so many things, there's so many ways you get pulled in a day, and especially if you're in a small business and there's only so many levels of people. Mm-hmm. Like usually your owner could be the front person, or if they're not, they're like the person managing the company and doing all the orders, and they're not. They're not corporate companies where you have people that are layers and layers and layers or levels up that you never see, and they don't care about the spill on the floor.
Yeah.
When you're a business owner, like you have to stop what you're doing, fix that, then go back, redo your order. Somebody comes in, you talk to them, and it's like this never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
Do you find that happens with Woodland Art?
Yes. I basically had to learn how to use every tool inside of a garage. So yeah, there was like a lot of like learning curves, and
We did a cool video the other day when you were like assembling.
Yeah.
That was a neat. I watched it. It was quick. It was like a sped up version, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I just speed it up a lot. But yeah, I feel like I really like that I learned how, because I really like that I learned how to use most things in a garage. And I'm thankful that my dad's also, he's a big part of it. I mean, he's a teacher that doesn't like to like describe what he's doing as he's doing it. It's more just like be quiet and watch him, so that the next time when you do it, you better do it right, or he's going to yell at you. So that was also interesting. So I'm like learning how to learn off of him, which he has taught me a lot. But basically, it's just me. Like if we're in the garage together, it's just me standing watching him, and then he'll leave and I'll do exactly what he just did without him in the room. But yeah, so it's
like, how do you guys come up with the designs? Because you just came out with the flags or the new thing.
Yep.
So like, do you find inspiration from something and then kind of figure out how you can do it?
Yeah, we really have no problem with coming up with how we're gonna put something together. I mean, we did like a frame the other day out of a log of wood.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It was really nice.
Yep. And that was like kind of my idea, but normally I have like a vision for something, and then like I'll quickly like show him a picture or like something that I drew, and he's like, "Yep, we can do that." So my dad's like really good at knowing how to put things together, and I'm good at like imagining what it's gonna look like. And most of the time I get if I see it, then we can do it.
So you're kind of more the visionary. He might be more he's got some vision, but he's like more the architect.
Yeah.
And then you ended up taking that, and then you turn it into the marketing and the PR part of it, and putting it out so people know about it. Because I have not seen Jake do TikTok yet.
He's probably not gonna. He gets it. He gets annoyed when I bring out my camera in the garage, so I don't really do it when he's like, put that away.
We gotta get more Jake on the gram. No, but I think it's pretty cool, and I think the fact that you're trying to do this at as a young professional, a lot of people at a young age just don't do that kind of stuff. Like I find that one, they don't know how, or they don't have the ambition.
Yeah,
because you're still at the age 21. I mean, a lot of kids your age right now I guess COVID, bars are shut down, but like people have other things on their mind than let me start this business and let me work all day on Saturday and Sunday when I can hang out with my friends. And you're like, well, that's my time to go do work. Like that's based on my schedule. That's the time I time block for that stuff.
Yeah, and the tools in a garage are super expensive, and there's a lot of them. And the more tools that you have, the easier it is. Like if you try to do everything with a table saw, like it's gonna take you all day. But like the more tools that you build up in your garage, it makes it easier. And when you know actually how to use them and everything like that, like it's a lot easier to do than.
So you don't use the table saw when you should be using a jigsaw. Imagine that, just all these big just like cuts all in the whole thing.
Yeah.
No, so I think that it's a cool thing, and I think that people are starting to follow it. The other thing, piggybacking off of that, going into real estate, is the stuff they don't see, and I know you do it because I did a lot. Not as much the last couple years, but definitely before that, was like when you're doing like content creation and like figuring out how to do it, and then the editing, and then the videos are the easiest part. But if you want to make it look good and edit it, like the editing takes time. And I don't think people realize when you look at like as crazy as it sounds, a TikTok video of you doing something, you didn't do that in 5 minutes. No. Like I bet you took a couple hours to make that video.
Yeah.
Even though it might only be 20 seconds, I'm sure you had a decent the full-time invested, I bet you was close to 2 hours on all those videos.
Yeah. And then like throughout the day you spend time like looking at it, and also people respond, you spend time like responding. And so with real estate, the things people don't see is definitely like the amount of takes that you take to put like a video together, or like that like a lot of the time I'll like look stuff off on my computer, like on different websites, to kind of see what type of information I should put out. I spent like an hour today looking at, I like to like do monthly housing reports on Peru, like with active, pending, and closed listings. So it's like you have to go through like probably like 60 homes, look at all of them, and then get I don't know, I get like an average sold price, average listing price, and then like you actually have to film the video of you talking about it. So, and then think of a way that it's actually who's gonna listen to it, and what's the easiest way that they're gonna see it.
Like distribute it.
Yeah.
Do you spend a lot of time learning marketing or trying to stay up to speed on like the trends?
Yeah, but I would really just say I just kind of like I'll just like think about it in my head of what the best way of putting it out is, and I just kind of go with that. And I also like consider what is easier. I don't know. I don't have like a bunch of editing software on my computer, so it's just like I kind of just use what I have. When you're kind of like limited on stuff, you just do what you have, and it's fine.
Yeah, before you get all bougie and get all the trinkets.
Yep.
Actually, I saw a quote the other day. They said, the more, I think something along the lines of the more equipment you have, the less you actually create.
Yeah.
Which meaning that you almost have too much options where like a lot of times people overthink it and it's like your phone is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And I use my phone. I mean, part of the reason I don't use my phone anymore for videos is because it's easier to upload from the camera with the SD card.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're airdropping or like it takes longer to load and especially when we're doing like video footage and stuff, I don't need to have my camera there because like even if I put my phone on do not disturb and something happens and it comes through, that could cut your video off.
Yeah.
I've had that happen before. I'm doing a video and a call comes through. I'm like, what the heck?
I know. Yeah, that happens to me. I'm like,
so I used to put it on airplane mode, but I would still get like notifications popping up and I'm like, okay, your phone nowadays, if you have any type of smartphone, your phone can take really good video and footage. And I think people overthink it. And I'm trying to get used to like basic things like light, not even like the spotlights and stuff I have, but simply like natural light. Mm-hmm. Like don't take a photo when your subject is standing where you're facing the light.
Yeah.
Have it at your back. Let them, I mean, you don't want them to squint, do a little bit off a little bit, but it brightens them up. That's why, like when people come here, I'm like, let me get a photo of you. Sometimes I'll do this photo because it's fine because we have the sun coming in. But there's times too where like I'll stand up, like they'll be at my phone and they'll stand up and they'll come like stand right there. I'm like, no, I can't take. You're gonna look like a shadow because I got light coming over. So it's like learning basics like that can go far, but doesn't cost you money. That just costs you a couple Google, or YouTube searches. Is that where you do most of your learning? YouTube, Google, YouTube, or do you read stuff? Like where do you consume like your knowledge of information?
I don't know. Probably just from other people.
Yeah.
Not really from looking it up. But I mean, one quote that I saw in 2020 was when you're limited on resources is when you start to become like more creative. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that like we all kind of experienced in 2020. So that's like kind of goes into what you were saying with like the using your camera or your phone and like what makes you more creative.
Well, it's like the idea if you say you're in a waiting room, okay, and waiting room. You're somewhere where say you're in a waiting room. You're in a random waiting room, and this is probably gonna date myself a little bit, but I remember when you're a kid, like going to the doctors, there was nothing to do, and I'm saying I'm at the age, I'm between 12 and 18 years old. I'm past the age where you're not going to play with the kid toys over in the corner. So you show up and you have to either bring a book to read or you read one of the random magazines they have lying around. And the reason being is you were limited. You didn't have anything to do. Now you have your phone. You have anything.
Yeah.
If you have a phone and a headset and you're in a waiting room, you have a TV. Yeah. You have a computer. You have everything you need. That when I go to the waiting room, I'm just on my phone because I can do stuff. It's like, to me, it's like a quiet time that I can just get some work done. When I was a kid, we talk about limited, like a book's a book.
Yeah.
Like you can only read it. Like a magazine's a magazine. You look at the photos, but when they got like a daytime soap opera on and they got the kids' toys, I'm like, I literally have a magazine. I'll read like a Sports Illustrated magazine or Time magazine, or I read a book that I brought with me. But that just factors in like what the limited stuff that you can do when you have the least amount of stuff. Like having a book is limited. Like you can only read it. I gave you a phone, so I think it's kind of that same analogy.
Yep.
Which is good because then you focus and then you read the book. Where if I gave you a phone and a book, you would never read that book.
No, you wouldn't read the book.
You would just sit there and look at the phone. You would actually, you'd probably go Wikipedia, the book, and just read the plot on the Wikipedia or synopsis and cheat. Did you ever, I'm trying to think because I'm not old Hannah, you said I was young, so I'm going to say I'm young, but I'm not. I'm a decade older than you, so I'm trying to find out like when you went to school, like 2016, 15, 16, 17, like you were in high school, blows my mind because you guys just had like everything. Like what was high school like for you guys with? Because I know it sounds crazy, but I didn't have a cell phone in high school. I had a cell phone my senior year.
Yeah. I think, honestly, in my opinion,
It was a flip phone. It wasn't very good.
I think everything like evolved perfectly for the. I mean, I'm sure everybody thinks everything evolved perfectly for them, but for me, like, I feel like by the time we were like in 6th grade or whatever, like phones came out, and I feel like that in my head, I'm like, that's the proper age to get a phone.
At 6th grade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that not? What? Because
I don't know.
you think it's different. You probably think you should be older or something.
No, my kids are young. They don't have phones yet, but
Well, yeah, they shouldn't.
Well,
in 6th grade, they're not in 6th grade.
no,
like,
I would think my kids would probably have, I would say, a phone that they can at least call on probably around that time.
Yeah.
And then I would say a phone that can do all the stuff my phone can do. A little bit older than that, like
Yeah.
meaning like probably closer to the end of high school.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not too concerned with like the phone is good. It's a tool. I use it all the time. Like I'm people say you're addicted to your phone. Like I'm oddly not addicted to my phone.
Really?
Not even close. If I didn't have to use I don't know if I'd be on social media if I didn't have to use my phone. Like if you were like Galen, you work a job, you don't need social media to like run the company and do stuff. I don't know how often I would check social media. I would probably watch like YouTube and stuff because I'm curious to learn, but just to like go through and catch up on things. I don't consume a lot of social media unless I'm bored. And bored meaning like I show up to an appointment early and I have nothing to do because I'm like I have like 10 minutes. I really can't do much.
Yep.
And even in that time, I'm usually grabbing something out of my file because I always have like a magazine or a book or an article and I read through it. I very rarely just scroll through Instagram. And I see your stuff. I see Courtney and Ellie and, you know, something from our company or some of my close friends. I'll see their stuff pop up because they're like the most interactive. I probably only go down like 4 or 5 photos and I'm done. So I don't post a lot. That I usually post and I'm out. Like I'll post something, I leave, I do my work, I come back, I see notifications and I follow up with the notifications. But I'm not like actively going through people's stuff because I have too much stuff to do during the day that I just find that that's like a time suck. And then Facebook for sure. I don't think I would do anything because I love shutting my phone off.
Yeah.
Like there's one basically around the 4th of July every year.
Yeah, you go black. Like
I go
nobody
black
knows
for-
where you are.
For 3 to 4 days, I shut my phone off, and I don't touch it for 4 days. Like I don't care.
I remember this. Like I think it was either this summer or last summer. But I was like,
9
"Are
I
you
didn't do it 20.
dead?"
Yeah, shut my phone off. And is there anxiety? I actually shut it off, and oddly, I feel at ease because I like make a rule for myself that I don't care what comes through my phone. Like I don't care if I don't care if I get something and I have. Because the problem is with our cell phones, you can't forward a text message and you can't forward a voicemail that I know of. If you do, people are listening, let me know. But like email, I could forward my email or I could put in a away message. You can't do it on cell phone. You can for the voicemail, but you can't for text messages, which is something that Apple needs to get. Apple needs to have an away message for text, and then they also need a way that you can read the text and flag it as unread. Like, you know, you can read an email and then flag it as unread again.
Yep.
So it notifies you. Like if you text me and I read it, there's no way. Now you can pin stuff to the top.
Yeah, I have enjoyed that.
But you can't actually, I wish I could just read it and swipe it again just to show unread.
Yeah.
So then if I'm doing stuff, all of a sudden now it becomes almost like a message thread. Like, okay, I got 5 people I got to text back.
Yeah.
I've read it and it's not something I have to respond to, but maybe I responded to them. And I flagged it because it's like a to-do now. Like, can you get me this? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Because instead I just take screenshots of everything, and I just litter my email with screenshots that I email to myself. So you'll text me something, I'll take a screenshot of it, email it to me, and then when I get to my computer, I'll just go through and it will remind me, oh, that's right, I had to get this for Hannah.
See, my brain does not work like that.
My brain doesn't remember anything, so that's why I do it. But I very rarely don't do what I say I'm going to do because that's my system. I just will screenshot the conversation or text or email myself a note from, if you talk to me on the phone, I would email what you said to myself so I look at it later.
See, you found a system that works. I'm still working on finding a system. That can't be my system because I hate email. So it's just like that can't.
Well, whatever the system is, one of my fears is
not responding to someone.
not responding, but not doing what I say I'm going to do, because I hate people that say they're going to do something. Mm-hmm. And I take someone at face value. If you say you're going to do something, I expect you to do something. Not that like, but I just say if you tell me you're going to do it, I just trust that you're going to do it. I'm like, okay, like you said you're going to do it. I figure you just stick with your word and do it. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people do that. So like when someone says something to you and they're like, I'll do it. I'm like, great. And then you find out they don't do it. I'm like, hey, remember that thing you told me? Oh yeah, I forgot about it. I'm like, so you didn't like write it down, or you didn't put it, or like you'll have like an appointment and I'll put it in my calendar, and then I'll be like, hey, you coming? Like, oh, I totally forgot to mark it down on my calendar. I'm like, okay, like it is what it is. I can't change it. So it's like, how do I react to it? And then just, okay, whatever. But
yeah,
like if you give me something to do, it's going in my, if you told me right now, hey, Galen, on July 19th from 2 to 4, I need you for this.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's in my calendar. And it won't move. And July 19th from 2 to 4, I will show up wherever it has to be at 2 o'clock, and I will do the thing. And but man, I haven't told you that in 5 months, but thanks for like, because I just put it in my calendar. It just stays there unless someone tells me to cancel it.
Yeah, the calendar in my phone actually has been helping me out a lot with that. Because like if you do it with your phone, your iPhone on the calendar, and you say you have a showing, like you can put it in your phone and put the address of the showing in your phone, and then it tells you what time you need to leave too.
What calendar do you use?
It's just the one that comes on the iPhone.
So I had the iPhone one, and then I said screw that. So I went to the
Google
Calendar, which is way better.
Yeah, I can't get myself into that right now. I'm just focusing on this one.
So I used it for many years. Then I switched it because I could take the Gmail one or the Google Calendar one. I could sync it up with my email, and I could sync it up with our top producer. So now I only have one email, because I used to put things in both email. Like I'd physically go in and put them into both calendars, and I'm like, I can just do everything from my phone or computer, and it's automatically just going to show up.
Yeah,
and I love it because now I don't think about it. Like there's times I like have a task to do, and I'll just put it in my calendar, and it'll pop up, and I'll see it when I get back to the office. I'm like, oh great, we're good to go.
Mm-hmm. You'd probably really like a Google phone, even though...
No, screw that. We're going Apple. But
I know, but you'd probably like it.
But I also color code my calendar, which stresses people out. But the color coding draws my eyes to certain things.
Yeah.
So like when you show a house in my calendar, it's yellow.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't mess with the rest of my colors, but I can see a yellow thing sticking out. Or like if Nick has something for the day, she'll put something in there so I know that she's not like she's gone that time.
Yep.
But then it notifies me when I see it. Like it's not really something I have to do, but it notifies me of the people that are either doing something for me or we have like a direct report to each other that I know what they're doing, and it's just like it clues me in on it. So I think the Google Calendar would be a good thing, Hannah.
Probably.
You got to think about that. Now into running. Why do you run?
Why do I run?
Yeah.
Well, really, it's like it's kind of like the only thing. Like nobody. I like to run because it's like you don't need much equipment, and it's like still a full body workout, and you can go as fast or slow as you want. You can go up hills, down hills. I like running on the road because like I honestly do like seeing cars. Like I like running by things.
Do you run on the right side of the road?
I run
the correct side of the road, not right side, the correct side.
Yes, I run on against traffic.
The amount of people, if I'm driving at night, if it's at night and you can't see anybody, 9 out of 10 times we're going down the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? Like,
I don't know.
And maybe they don't know. I don't know. But I'm like, dude, you're going to get hit.
My biggest fear is like, somebody driving by me and them thinking that I'm an idiot for running on the wrong side of the road. So I never run on the wrong side of the road because I don't want
I would
them to
judge
think
you.
I'm an idiot.
If somebody's running on the wrong side of the road, I instantly judge that person.
Yeah.
And not because I care they're running on the wrong side of the road. I'm just like, you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
Or the chances you get hit are greater. Please run on the right side so you can see cars approaching you.
Yeah. One way that I always remember is my watch is on my left. So my watch is always on the inside of the road.
So it always faces traffic.
No, my watch is always gonna face like a side, like somebody's house or something. This arm's always gonna be facing a road because the car is gonna go like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it depends which way you're running.
down a road. Any way down a road, you're always.
But you're saying in order to run against traffic, it has to point away
This
from the
hand
house.
is going to be.
If you're
not
going
in the
against
road.
traffic.
Yeah.
Because you could run with traffic and it's facing the other way.
But I would not run with traffic.
Okay, so I think I follow that.
Yeah.
There's a system you have.
Yeah. It's this hand, this hand's always not going to ever get hit by a car. This hand could get hit by a car.
And that's fine because there's no whatever you have, no watch on that hand. So you've done one marathon, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. I tried to do 2, but the second one got canceled.
Thanks, COVID, right?
Yeah, thank you.
So how was the first marathon? Like, I've never run a marathon. Full disclosure, I have no desire ever to run a marathon. So I will live vicariously through you. But how was the marathon? How was that?
Every time I think about the marathon that I did, I get so happy because it felt really like my birthday. Like that whole experience felt like my birthday. Like
My birthday. There you go. Okay.
What happened June 9th that happened and of 2019. And the thing is, I wanted to do a marathon before I turned 20 years old, so I did it when I was 19. Like the other accomplishment that I had with running was I wanted to run a half marathon before I graduated high school, so I did that as well. I did the Plattsburgh half and then the Lake Placid full marathon. But so training, if I were to be doing the marathon again, I did like a 16-week training schedule. Mm-hmm. So basically, I would work my way up, and the furthest I'd run before the marathon was 20 miles, and then you kind of just had to imagine the 6 extra miles on the day of the marathon. But yeah, so the furthest I ran was 20 miles for the training days, and then you do that pretty much 4 weeks before the marathon, but every week, like, your Sunday run increases by like a mile or 2. So you start off with 6 and then end up at 20, and then 4 weeks later you're at 26. I did it in 5 hours and 1 minute, and it was honestly like the greatest feeling of my life. But yeah, so the day of the race, I did it in Lake Placid. I was lucky enough, my parents like made it easy, so they got a hotel room there, and I was just like surrounded by people that all wanted the same thing. Some people were wearing the half marathon bibs, I was wearing the full, and the first time I stopped running was at mile 20. And that was the longest I ever ran without stopping. So I already felt good about that. But it was weird, like all of a sudden when I was in the race, like I was worried about my mindset mostly. And somehow during the race, it was totally fine. Like I was worried that my mindset was going to go bad, and it never went bad. So...
Can you listen to music during the race?
Yeah. So
you can? Okay.
Yeah. I listened to music for like the first 4 miles, and then I went straight to podcasts. And I listened to Gary Vee the whole time.
Really?
Yeah, because I was used to doing that. So I was like, I had a plan. I was like, I'm going to get pumped up for the first like 4 miles, and then I'm going to go straight to podcasts and just like listen to it and relax. And that's what I did. And then I think at mile 20, I ended up calling my dad just to talk to him, but I was like still running. And then by the end of it, I mean, yeah. So it was really like the best day of my life. That race was the best day of my life. And then after, like, all you have to do is just like go to the bathroom, and you go to the bathroom and then you go home. And
did you pee at all during the race?
No, there was a point where I thought I had to, but I didn't. I wore a backpack on my back the whole time, like one with a bladder, like for water, because that's also what I was used to. So I'd say for anybody that wants to do one, just like train how you are gonna run the race, how you trained. Run it exactly how you trained, and you'll be fine.
Is there water stations? I'm assuming there's water stations.
There's water stations, yeah. And it was also the hottest day in Lake Placid that day too, so I was hurting because of that. But they had like hoses, and people would spray you with water, and it was awesome because I was sweating. Do you eat at all during it? I had a couple oranges
during the race. Did you put that in your backpack?
No, I ate them.
I know that, but
they give you them.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if like you have to stock before, because I know like Iron Man and stuff. A lot of them they'll put stuff on their bike, and
yeah.
Where'd you go to eat after?
I didn't eat anything.
What?
Yeah, no. I was not hungry. Like, I don't know. It's a really strange feeling when you run for 5 miles straight. Like, you're not hungry after.
I would just crush whatever. Maybe not right when you're done, because I'm the same thing. I have a hard time eating after I like work out
Yeah.
or like playing sports. I never like to eat right after.
Yeah. You're like so not hungry, but then the next couple of days, you're just like starving. And
Wait,
like,
what time was the race at? What time did you finish?
the race was started around like 8:30 and then ends 5 hours later. So I want to say like around 1, I was like done.
So like dinner, you weren't hungry by dinner?
I can't
Like by
remember.
dinner, I'd be like, give me everything. Like give me the menu.
I think
I'd probably.
I think I laid on the couch the whole day and just had things brought to me because I was so tired.
Did you go straight home after?
Yeah, I went home and then I sat in the hot tub and then I fell asleep just fell asleep in my bathing suit on my bed because I was so exhausted.
Just done. Yeah, I don't know. Now mentally, is it hard mentally running for 5 hours?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. I just don't.
It becomes a complete mental game. Like,
I've been thinking about meditation. Do you meditate at all?
I've tried it before. Sometimes like the only reason that I would like meditate or like try to like center myself and bring myself back to like who I like focus on the moment is only like after, like, say I come over to your house after like my whole entire day of working and all I can think about is like what I just did at work. Like I'll go into the bathroom and just be like, I'm here now, so I'm going to focus on this right now, and like everything else I can put away. That's like my form of meditating, is bringing it back to the present.
I'm just thinking, like, I've tried like the Headspace stuff. This was a couple years ago. This is more than that, probably 3 years ago. I just had a hard time like shutting down for 10 minutes, and it's tough because there's like, don't think. So every time a thought came in, like if something comes in your head, just try to like, and the guy was like, acknowledge that the thought is coming into your head. Now just get rid of the thought. I mean, he said it a little more eloquent than that,
Yep.
but it was the idea of like, if a thought comes in, like acknowledge the thought, be like, I'm having a thought, and then push the thought out. Like, and focus on your, like, I think it was like focus on your breathing.
Yeah.
So I try to focus on nothing. I literally tried to just picture just blankness, like nothing. And then if a thought comes in, which is literally like once every 5 to 10 seconds, then I'm like, okay, focus off that. So then I'm like, okay, focus on your breathing. Like focus on something that is not like a thought. I go through 10 minutes. I literally just sit there and I'm just like, I'm thinking about this. Stop. Like just stop thinking about something. I have the hardest time. Now I get it. It's a skill you have to learn.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. I've thought about it. Of course, I like reading books and listening to audiobooks of like successful people. I always like, or high achievers. Like I like reading.
But what was your goal with meditating? Like, what did you want out of that?
It's to quiet my mind. It's so because I think all day long. Like I think about, very rarely do I just sit down and just don't do a thing.
Yeah.
Or sit down and just let my mind just be like mush. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time watching TV. Like I can't, like when people are like, oh, watch TV or like watch a movie and just sit there and watch. Like I can't. I'm just like fidgety. I'm like, I should be doing this. I'm like working on my computer. I'm looking stuff up on my phone. I can't get through a movie without looking up stuff on my phone.
Really?
Just researching stuff. Yeah. Random stuff. Mm-hmm. Something will happen in the movie. It'll like clue me. I'm like, oh, I wonder how that works. Next thing you know, I'm Googling how it works. Actually, we put on, it was funny. We put on a documentary yesterday on Britney Spears.
Yeah.
And which partly because she came to like, you know who Britney Spears is?
Yes.
Okay. So she came like to like pop icon status when I was in school. So she was a big deal. Yeah. And we were watching this documentary and they kind of went through everything and kind of like her upbringing and then her like rise to fame and then kind of like when things kind of like crapped out and people were like, she's gone crazy. And then when she kind of like readjusted and you kind of look at it. Well, I'm kind of doing like a quick aside here, but like you looked at that, like I felt bad for her because she I think was like this sweet girl that came from like a small town and there's so many people wanted like access to her. And honestly, like the paparazzi, she was like the paparazzi, like magnet. And I think honestly way more, maybe, I don't know. I don't follow pop stuff. I don't know. Kardashian people, they probably have a lot, but she was always one that was just like tabloids and paparazzi. And you just see like video of her, like just trying to walk. And at one scene It was her and a friend. They were both sitting down at the table to eat. It'd be like me and you sitting at the table here at a diner, and there's probably like 20 cameras. They're all like literally people are on the edge of the table taking photos of them, and they're sitting there to have dinner. And I'm like, I couldn't even imagine. So like going crazy, like I could kind of see that when you have no privacy.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Like you can't just like walk down the street without people chasing you with the camera. It's like, dude, like I'm trying to eat dinner here, man. Like, and but I couldn't go through the whole movie. And then I started going on Wikipedia and looking up Britney Spears. And then I started reading. I'm like, oh, I remember that. So then I clicked on this, and that brought me to that, and that brought me to that. And next thing you know, I'm like 5 things down in a rabbit hole looking at some random person that has nothing to do with Britney Spears. It's just like the degrees of separation kind of thing. So like I look at her, and then all of a sudden it goes to like TRL. So I click on, oh, I love TRL. Click on TRL. And then it's like Carson Daly. Well, Carson Daly's on Today's Show now, but he was on TRL. Like, what's Carson Daly's life like? And you go through and like, oh, wow, he interviewed this singer. What are they doing now? Now I'm at that singer. Now I'm at something. Like, this is where I go. I go into dark holes on the Wikipedia web.
You're like what the internet thrives for, like people like that.
And meanwhile, the TV's on them,
Yeah.
and then like Gino will be like, oh, wow. And I'm like, wow, what happened? I'm like, I'm literally reading about like Machu Picchu in Peru. Don't ask me how Britney Spears got me to Machu Picchu, but it happened. And that's, I can't follow. I just, so meditation for me would just be to not think and just completely just space out.
Yeah.
Like when I like shut my phone off for like during the summer, that is I'm checked out. Mm-hmm. Checked out, present, whatever you want to call it. I'm literally just hanging out with friends, just relaxing. It's sunny. It's nice. If I want to go swimming, if I want to just hang out, if I want to, have a beer with some friends, I can do it and not have to think. And it's just the greatest because like nobody needs me ever. And I can just feel like I'm just like there. I'm just like hanging out. I'm just like I have no responsibilities right now.
But you also know like the date that you're going to pick your phone back up too. So that's probably like, oh, I'll check it that day. So you like get
I mean, it's
reassured.
I'll have to show you it. I took a screenshot when I turned my phone off on. I remember turning it on, and I put it on the count. Like I put it like on this table or something. I turned it on and I checked it in 2 hours because it like gave it time to like catch up with all the messages. And I'll have to find it. It was pretty disturbing the amount of like messages I got. Not bad messages, but I mean like just the mixture of calls, texts, emails. And granted, this was during. I remember this happening. It was from midday. It was from Wednesday at 4:00 to like late Sunday. So I had Saturday, Sunday, Thursday was Thursday? Thursday was 4th of July. So the night before 4th of July for now like 4 or 5 o'clock at the end of a business day, the holiday, a random like one day before the weekend and 2 weekend dates, and I had all those. And I'm like, it was during a week. I'm like, nobody's doing anything on 4th of July. And it was. And again, I don't mind stuff, but it was just when things are going, because your just mind's running, because you're constantly doing stuff, that it's just to shut completely down is so difficult.
Yeah, probably somewhere from me. And like, I think I remember, and I almost thought, I was like, is he upset with me? Like, why is he ignoring me?
During that time?
Yeah.
I was upset with you, actually.
Was you? Were you?
Oh, I didn't have my phone on hand. No, well, that's the thing. I always get nervous. Not like, if you text me, I don't care, because like, not I do care, but like I don't care because you understand like, okay, like if I told you where it was, you'd be like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if I have clients who are like 12 hours later, you haven't responded to me, like screw you. And I'm like, dude, I shut my phone off literally like 4 days in the year. Like I get stuff on Christmas Day. Like I get stuff on Christmas Day. And I'm like, I literally get stuff every day of the year. Let me have my phone off for a couple days of the year just to completely check out. And it's great. I feel so much better. Yeah, but it's wild. So, Hannah, tell us about switching gears from running, meditation, now TikTok.
TikTok.
How many views are you up to on your viral video?
I have one viral video, and I'm up to like 410,000 views.
410?
Yeah.
Really? When she told me, last time you showed me, it was like 110.
I know now.
I thought you were going to be like, it's at 120.
No, 410,000 views.
Out of the 410,000, how many requests have you had for work?
Probably like 10 to 15. And they all have went...
Wait, 10 to 15 what?
Or like people asking for prices. But the thing is, I haven't found a good way to ship things yet. So like...
I thought you said you had like 45 people in the first 100,000.
45 comments.
Oh, those weren't people that wanted orders.
Yeah, I mean, there was 45 comments, but there's a bunch of comments on there asking me for things, but the thing is, I don't know how on TikTok you can respond to the person. Like, you have to press the @ symbol, but then you have to type in their whole entire username, and that was just a lot for me. And plus, like, I cannot make that many things for people, and I also cannot ship a 6-foot, like 50-pound piece of wood to you across the country, so I don't know, like...
Well, you can. Just gotta charge them shipping.
I know, I just don't... I'm not there yet. Like, this is more... I'm focusing first on, like, my town, you know, finding people in the area that want it, and then, like, figuring out a way to go...
Do you think that video hits $1 million?
No.
500,000?
Yeah, maybe. But not... I mean, right now it's at 410,000, so...
Huh? That's pretty good.
Yeah, and all I'm doing is, like, literally paint... And people have asked me for tutorials on how to make it, and, like, they're asking me all these questions, but I'm not... I'll like the comment, but I don't know how... I don't know. Yeah. And I put my website on there, and, like, through my website... You can click on my website and then scroll down, and at the bottom of it, it says if you want to put in an inquiry or whatever you say, and then it goes straight to my Gmail, so then I can reach out to people there.
Are people doing that?
Yeah.
How many people have emailed you?
Yeah, that's probably the 10 to 15 people.
Oh, okay. So people have gone through that whole
Yeah.
system. I always look at if you have comments, try to respond to every comment.
Yeah.
Like, even if it sucks, like having to type all those out, I would still like while you're watching a movie one night, just go through and type.
I try.
Well, I mean, if you know what I mean, like this isn't like a normal thing. This just like if this happened like every day you were getting this, like listen, I don't have 2 hours a day to go through stuff. But if you're like watching some show or whatever, just do it while you're doing that.
Yeah.
I don't really go on TikTok though.
Yeah, so the video has 32,000 likes and 107 comments. And I started off TikTok with... That day when I posted it, I had like 130 people following it, and now I have 1,076 people following my TikTok. So
there you go.
I grew like good 900 followers, and I also, had 107 comments and 32,000 likes.
How often are you posting?
On TikTok, I've been now posting probably like 2 or 3 videos a week, but nothing's doing like what that video did. So.
Because I don't know the algorithm of TikTok, but like there's things that could just pop.
Yeah. Well, it depends a lot on the sound and like the sound you use. I never use hashtags. So I think a lot of it was going based off the sound, and then also that I was painting something in like a satisfying sped up way.
Yeah, I mean, there's the content, and then you put it in the platform that people would resonate with that content. Mm-hmm. Because you got to think most people on TikTok are going to be trending younger. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense. Like you're right, probably in like the mean or median or mean of all the people that do. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's great. I think you got to get more like just consistent on like actively posting on it if you know that's like what is working for you. Mm-hmm. Like me, like my next thing is not TikTok. Like it's
YouTube.
Like, no, yeah, YouTube. Definitely YouTube over. That's the one I want to start doing more on, but. It's the editing. It's like the time. I had a video I shot on Monday. It was just a quick video.
You shot it yourself?
Yeah. It was just the market update. It took me like... I shot it on a Monday. It took me to the following Monday, I think, to post it.
Really?
It was almost a week later because I didn't have time to edit it. And I didn't even get to edit the way I wanted to. I edited it as quick as possible. I literally was like, let me just cut it in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Versus I would have taken more time to make it like a little more professional looking. But I didn't have the time, so I was like, screw it, just put it out, because that's the hardest thing for me right now is doing the extra. The editing is so hard.
Yeah,
it's so hard. The shooting's not bad. Making the ideas and stuff's not bad, but to actually put together a quality video with the editing, like you have to really focus on. I just don't have the time to do it because like if I leave, like then it becomes like Kid Central. I just don't do anything. Like once I leave and I get home, there's not a lot I really can do. Yeah. And so then it's like doing it during the workday, but the workday is just so chaotic. That's why I'm trying to really hack my time to leverage my time for like the podcast is easy because the podcast I can edit and upload the podcast really fast. Mm-hmm. And Jordan was editing. Nick's done a couple of them, but it's kind of screwed up on the computer she has. So it's sometimes easier for me just to like rip it through real quick. And it only takes me like 15 minutes from start to finish. But editing picture is way more difficult.
Yeah.
Like this could be up literally before my next meeting if I wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know. That's the most difficult part. But so Hannah, what are the thing let's go over goals. What are your aspirations at this point in your life? Like, what is there anything that you want to do, want to accomplish, want to continue? I mean, is there like, have you thought about what you want to do at your age?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm kind of at a point where it's like I don't have any more like things to beat by a milestone, and probably some people would argue that, but because I've now graduated college, turned 21, and graduated high school, like I don't know like what my next thing is really. But in terms of like, but those were all things put there by like my parents that are like, hey, you got to accomplish these things. So now it's like kind of more up to me of the things that I want to get done. I mean, in terms of real estate, like I would obviously like love to get to what Kavanaugh's capping thing is, and reach goals in terms of like the like what rank I am of realtor in the Clayton County list. And I would say, I mean, something that I've always just wanted to do is like purchase a house and then like fully design it myself and like do the work, like do floors, do
Like
roof,
a
siding.
renovation?
Yeah, I think that's like something that I would just really like to do is like a full renovation of like a house and make it like how I want to do it. And then, which is kind of like a weird goal to have because I guess it's I think that goal would just like make me happy, and that's why I want to do it. And then probably just to like, I would like to like get a dog, and that's about it. Like get a dog.
Pretty low key.
Yeah, I think my goals are pretty low key, honestly. Like somehow find a situation where like I'm like, I feel like I'm the type of person where I'm like never truly like satisfied, and I'm like, but I think that's how a lot of people's brains work, is just like human brains are like never really satisfied. Like they always have what they have, but then want what they don't have. So I would like to get into a point where I have like a lot of self actualization and like fully understand myself in and out, as well as being happy exactly where I am.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like the mind, there's different. Well, people always want certain things. Like everybody wants. I want to, be here, do that. I think a lot of people, you have to. It's not just like wanting something. It's easy to say you want something. If you say like I want to run a marathon, easy to say. I can say I want to run a marathon, but like one, you have to believe it.
Yep.
Two, you actually have to have the belief and vision that you can do it, and then you got to put in the work to do it. So the thing that I don't really look at people that have opinions on stuff. Not opinions, but if somebody says, if you were to come in and say, I want to be the greatest realtor in the world. Like, okay, great. Like, that's cool. Like, okay. But then if I see you like talk about it and then your actions are showing that, it doesn't mean you have to accomplish it. But if your actions and the way you carry yourself and the way you're working towards it, I'm like, okay, like she's doing some stuff that makes me believe that she actually does want to do it. Like, perfect example, when I first got into business, I wanted to be the number one agent, and I spent probably 4 to 5 years being like, I want to be the number one agent, but not really putting in the work or putting in the level that I had to become that.
Yeah.
It was kind of like I said it. I believed I could do it. I kind of had a vision to do it, but my actions weren't really backing it up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I didn't see it happening, and I knew it was like visually or visualizing it. I knew I could do it, and I knew I would do it. But I remember having a thought probably around 23 or so. I remember thinking in my head, I'm like, you want to be the number one agent, and now you have like 6 years to do it or 7 years to do it, and you're really not doing anything to like stand out and make yourself do that. And I remember thinking, I'm like, you got to figure something out here. Like, 'cause what you're doing now, you'll never do it. And I remember I was I'm a very, like, my self-talk is very honest to myself. Good and bad. Like, I actually am very positive. I don't have a lot of negative self-talk. I have more positive, but I also am not blindly positive, meaning like I'm aware if I'm not doing something correctly, and I'm like, you know what, you're just like, I don't like put myself down, but I just, like, in my head, I'm like, no, you're not doing what you should be doing to do that. Like, if you really want to do it, then this is what you know what you have to do.
Yeah.
Just being disciplined and doing that work. That's the kind of stuff that I shifted, and I started working, actually putting in the actions to do what I wanted to do, and then I got to where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking at, okay, where do I want to go from here? Like, what's the next decade, or so of my career? And not even decade, I have more 5-year, not really 10-year, but I have like a 5-year vision now. It's okay, what do I want to accomplish in 5 years? So what are my actions having to do in 5 years? And I found that at the start of this year, and really only the last probably 3-4 weeks, I've really turned a page and said, okay, I'm really focusing on these things. And part of that is like you starting to cover more of my showings. Like, that's part of what I need to have happen is I have to slowly kind of, work my schedule around where I can help those clients, but I don't necessarily have to show them the house, because I mean, real estate, 90% of real estate I find is not even the house. It's the general theme of the house. It's the general theme of the way real estate works. It's not necessarily the actual house you're dealing with. Like, the houses is like that house to that house. It's the same concept. For the most part, how to sell. It's like they're like 90% similar. Yeah. There's probably a very small difference between a house in the city and a house out in West Shazy, and one's a ranch and one's an old style home. Okay, I've seen both of them. I've seen both those areas. I know exactly what house it is. Like, I don't really need to be at the house with the client, and I can do 90+%, and 9 out of the 10 rest of the percent is a phone call away if I really need that information.
Yeah.
Very rarely am I going to get to a point where I'm like, oh my God, I should have really went to that house and looked at it. It has yet to cross yet to happen. So for me, the leverage I get from that time is very valuable. You're going to get to the point where you won't be able to do that. Like, you won't be doing this for years and years and years for me, because you're going to get to the point where you have all your stuff to deal with, and that's fine. Like, then I go, okay, what's the next one? And I'm hoping at that point I'm focusing on other things in the company and not that. And that's as I grow. So I'm trying to put focus on where's my time best allocated.
Yeah.
But that comes back to, like, the action part of it. You seem like someone that is taking action. Like, when you tell me what you want to do, I'm like, okay, I see you here. I see you, like, doing stuff. I follow you obviously on social media and and having conversations, obviously not in podcast land, but just, if you're in my office talking about something, like, you have, like, it seems like you have a direction.
Yeah.
It seems like when you tell me something, you've thought through it and you have a focus and you have at least a path that you want to go down. Do you spend a lot of time thinking about that?
Yeah. I just am I do spend a lot of time, like, thinking about the things that I want to do. And then when I kind of, like, bring the idea to you, it's kind of like the final form of my own idea. And then I kind of, like, ask for input back. But yeah, I'll spend a lot of time, like, just thinking about things that I want to do. And most of the things, it comes, like, mainly from, like, a passion. Like, if I'm passionate about, creating a space that I'm comfortable in, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm passionate about, like, really just, like, working for myself, so, like, that's what I'm going to do. And then, like, once I find how I'm going to do it, like, I enjoy people. I would actually say I'm an extroverted people, and that I get my energy from other people. So actually, like, being around, like, clients or, like, people in the office actually just, like, makes me happier. So that helps a lot. And as long as I, like, I don't have, like, exact goals and, like, numbers of things that I want to get done anymore. Like, I just feel like as unless probably it's gonna happen where like I do come up with like a set of like real hard goals, then I'll like work towards them. But like at the moment, I don't know what my hard goals are. I just like kind of have like more soft goals. I am looking to make some. I just don't know where to start.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I think a lot of goals. When I talk at the beginning of the year, when I was talking about, okay, how are our goals going to be? What is going to be our themes of our goals?
Yeah.
And like I mean, you know this. I like 1, 3, 5, 10, 20, and 30 year goals. And again, people are like, oh well, 10, 20, 30 year goals. That's dumb. Like why? I'm like, well, no, I don't. My 30-year goal is not like my 1 year goal has a metric on it, has a number. It's tangible. It's something that I can see, measure, track. Mm-hmm. My 3-year goal and my 5-year goal might be the same.
Yeah.
Roughly. My 10, 20, and 30-year goals, and as you go farther down the road, like 30 is more theme generated. Mm-hmm. It's like, what do you want to? What's kind of the general theme of what you want to accomplish?
Yeah.
The details, I got 30 years to figure out the details. And like even a 3-year goal, or 5-year goal, I have 3 to 5 years to figure out details. Like when I was talking about what I wanted to do, did I know that Hannah Wilson would reach out to us in August of 2018? No, didn't know who you were. Did I think that we were going to start having people reaching out, and did I think that people were going to start coming to our company and start growing with our company?
Yeah.
100%. Mm-hmm. If you ask me what's the theme now going forward, we will get like one of my fears in this, and I remember telling Aaron this was a couple, 2017 we met. This is probably the end of 2007. End of 2017. And I remember talking with him, and this was when we only had like 7 people in the office, 6 or 7. It was really small. And I go, oddly enough, because I could kind of see where things were going and I knew what I was going to do, and I could kind of see the steps with being years down the road. And I remember telling him, like, I think there's a possibility we grow too fast. Mm-hmm. And it's weird to say when you aren't growing at all.
Yeah.
But I could see, like, but I remember thinking in my head, like, I got a plan for where we are now. I'm like, okay, I know what we're going to do is going to work. I know it's going to pay off. There's going to be a point where we're just going to grow too fast. And I got to now start figuring out ways to handle the growth that I've been anticipating for the last 3 years. And we're starting to hit it. Mm-hmm. And that's right now why I'm shifting gears to stuff. I couldn't 2 years ago. I couldn't a year and a half ago. Now I'm to the point where I'm like, okay, now I can see I have to do a shift. I have to do just kind of like a step to the side and then a step up. Like I get to the next rung on the ladder, and I have to move some things around and reallocate time and reallocate focus and reallocate responsibilities to free me up to do that next thing. But I'm doing it because it's for the growth of the company that I can see. So a lot of the stuff that I'm thinking about is I'm really doing a big shift now. And a lot of it relies on other people. Like it's not just myself. Like we've had conversations before, like you're a pivotal part of what I would call like a long-term plan. And now again, what's the details? What is Hannah's title going to be in 10 years from now? I don't know exactly. I know roughly where I want her to be and kind of what direction and what level of, or what I want your responsibilities to be. But am I going to know the exact thing, time, date, place? No. Like, I don't know. Is it going to be this office? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like those little things will figure themselves out. Mm-hmm. It's the general theme you're working towards. And like, for me, it's people, and for me, it's like location being the North Country. But I think at some point I think things could grow out of the North Country. Mm-hmm. And that's not just real estate. That I think is other stuff that I could get involved in. And that's things that I really focus on the long term, but then trying to get what I call like A players that I think are going to grow into the role. And, I've had people, I've mentioned you, and they're like, oh, she's awful young. I'm like, trust me, at 20, I know where I was at 20, and I've gotten to here by 30, and where you are at 20, or 21 now, but where you were at 20, blew my 20-year-old self out of the water. Mm-hmm. And just where your mind's at, but not only where your mind's at, but like the experience you've already gathered. And I also look at the connections you have at your age were way beyond what I had. It wasn't even close. And that's great. And So I look at someone like you, like you're going to grow so much over the next 10 years that like if we did this when you're 30, if you're like, hey, Galen, I just turned 31, you turn my age, you're going to like the conversation's going to be totally different.
Yeah.
Like when you're 30 and I'm 40, the conversation's going to be totally different. And it's like, I'm pumped because I can't wait to see what that looks like, but it's going to be fun to look back on that and you're going to be like, oh my God, I sound like such a dweeb. Like it's going to be pretty funny, but I don't know. I just think you have to think big and you have to have belief in yourself. And you have to have a vision, and the vision doesn't have to be, you don't have to have the exact wording and phrasing and numbers and, things involved, but you have to know where you're going. Mm-hmm. And things happen. Like, it's kind of like the law of attraction. Mm-hmm. Like, things happen. Like, you came in. There's other people that came in. There's people that will continue to come in. And there's relationships I've met with people and grown, friendships and everything else that were not here 3 years ago because I focused on positivity and mindset and stuff like that. Those people just naturally gravitate towards that.
Yeah.
Very rarely do like negative people get attracted to me.
Yeah.
and it's great because I don't want that. I want like positive people. And I find that I draw positive people in and then I get drawn to them and then it just becomes this like catalyst for even more growth for everybody. So it's just cool. So, Hannah, before we get into our second podcast of the day, is there anything else you want to tell people? Any knowledge, any nuggets, any like special like words of wisdom from a 21-year-old? Maybe younger kids are listening to this because I'm sure you're I'm sure people look at you as a role model. Like kids around your age and even younger would look at you as a role model. Like kids that would probably know you and are a few years younger than you probably really look up to you.
Yeah, I would say like if you're thinking about like either going with something that's super secure or going something that's going to challenge you a little bit more, but you're more passionate about the thing that's going to challenge you, I would say just 100% go towards the thing that's going to challenge you, not towards some security thing that won't make you actually happy. But like truly think about it and like talk about it with your friends, your family, and evaluate yourself and see if you are really the type of person that would succeed in this sort of challenging situation, and then go with it. That's all I would say.
That's good. Yeah. Like bet on yourself and just go for it.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great. Hannah, if anybody wants to reach out to you for real estate or for woodland art, you can give yourself a plug.
Okay, my plug is my Instagram for real estate. My Instagram is real estate _ Hannah. Woodland art is just woodland art shop, and then my email is hannah@kavanaugh-realty.com.
Perfect. That was good. Good sign off, Hannah.
Thanks.
Okay, that's it. That's episode 117 of the Galen Trombley Show with Hannah Wilson. Thanks for listening to the Galen Trombley Show. If you want to reach me, you can go on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. The spelling, GaelanTrombley.